ICOM, and so our panelists, and all the personnel from ICOM. Thank you very much for allowing Kakisani to host this tour. You are station number 8.
Wow.
Nice number for you, right? Station number 8. We had UM, Sunway, UITM, what else? UCSI, Oopsie, Taylor's, USM. We even went to Penang.
Wow.
So you're number 8. Coming up is UPM and Aswara. We have 10. So this tour is not only to introduce the BOH Cameronian Arts Awards, but have you all heard of BOH Cameronian Arts Awards?
Yes.
No, yes. Sama was one of our judges, right?
Yes.
Many years ago.
Many years
Yeah,
ago.
I saw his name, I didn't know it was him, and I saw him and I said, then somebody mentioned, he said, now the name has a face to me. Thank you. Okay, so when we had the BOH Cameronian Arts Awards last year, we decided that we want to do a bit more than just the awards ends in May, after the recipients taken, they're all balik already, then nothing happens. So we decided to take it beyond the Camis. So this is the first time after 20 years that the BOH Cameronian Arts Awards have done something beyond the awards night. And in this program, we invite people who are involved in the Camis, either they are winners, judges, and also experts from the industry. Even though they have not stepped into Camis yet, they will. So we're very happy to have them here with us today. Okay, new faces, old faces, all, we're very happy. These are all the experts. So later on, I'll pass this to Aiman. I hope you all know Aiman, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So he'll take over, he'll moderate this. And please do ask questions at the end. You're given 10 minutes to ask questions to our experts on what they're doing. So these all come from variety, genres or style of music. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all. I've said enough. Thank you. Over to you, Aiman.
Sure. Do we need the mic?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So we have mic. Oh, unmute. Hello, check. Okay.
Yay.
Hello, good afternoon, ICOM and guests. Okay, so we're here at the talk today. We're talking about the legacy, 20 years of legacy meeting inspirations, igniting inspirations for tomorrow. Alright, so we're gonna talk pretty in-depth a little bit about the industry, where the students can sort of expect to go perhaps and shape their careers in the future, right? A little bit introduction about myself. By day, I'm a lecturer full-time in ICOM. By night, I'm mostly a mixing engineer. I do a little bit of rapping as well, but I'm focused on the local hip-hop scene, mostly nurturing up-and-coming acts, right? Been doing that for 15 years. Alright, now, I'm gonna introduce my panel. Let's start with the one on my left, Mr. JD. So JD is a founder, studio manager, and producer of Studio 2105 for 2105 Productions, a premier recording and production facility wholly owned and operated by the members of Pop Shamit. Under his leadership, Studio 2105 has produced dozens of #1 hits on Malaysian radio and collaborated with artists from the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, the Philippines, Thailand, Taiwan, and Singapore. And over to his left, Mr. Tuku Umar. Mr. Tuku Umar Ilani, a composer, arranger based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, currently lectures at Aswara, teaching composition and gamelan. Tuku Umar emerged as a leading light in the new generation of Malay gamelan composers and musicians, under the tutelage of mentors and adi gurus like Ruslan Imam, Salvador Guerzo, Pak Bob Khalil, Pak Osman, and many others. He actively performs and composes new music for gamelan groups and collaborates with musicians and artists. So if you have gamelan questions, please again. Okay, over to his left, Mr. Syed Shafi. Syed Shafi or Syed Shafi? Shafi. So Mr. Syed Shafi was born in Kuala Lumpur and focuses his music towards contemporary classical composition. His music has been featured in various music festivals, including, let me get this right, Druskomanija Festival in Lithuania, China ASEAN Music Festival in China, Rizwanze Festival in Italy, Asian Composers League in Philippines, Soundbridge Festival Malaysia, SNU New Music Festival Korea, and so many others. We can go on. Okay, so basically contemporary classical compositions is his focus. So if you're interested in diving deep into that, or maybe questions on like how to infuse it into modern compositions, have your questions ready. Right, and last but not least, Mr. Caleb T. Caleb T is a prominent Malaysian conductor, composer, and educator. He currently serves as the acting director of the Sunway Conservatoire of Music and a teaching fellow at Sunway University. As the music director at Yinchi Music and the 12th Tone, is it 1 to 2? 12th Tone Ensemble, he is widely recognized for pushing the boundaries of sacred and symphonic repertoire in Malaysia. So, orchestra questions. Okay, so JD engineering questions and maybe production questions as well. Alright, but sure, you can have your generic questions for all of them. Alright, especially because some of you are graduating, this is the best time to explore what's out there for you. Okay, so try to reserve the questions at the end. I'll pick out a few. But for now, let's get into it. Who would like to go first for the first question? I shall throw it to the table.
We should follow the order,
Okay. Okay, so Mr. Caleb T gets the Okay, can you test the mic?
Test.
Okay. Alright, Mr. Caleb T, the first question is, for a music student today who might feel overwhelmed by the competition, how important is it to focus on local storytelling in their compositions versus trying to sound like international top 40 or Western classical greats? In your opinion, what makes a Malaysian composer's legacy stand out in 2026?
Right. So, hello, by the way, everyone. Hello. I think about first part of the questions. Sorry, what was it? That.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Overwhelmed.
So focusing on local storytelling versus
storytelling versus trying to be the top 40. So the question is that whether you want to focus on your storytelling when you're writing music, or you want to sound like the top 40. I think personally, neither one is very healthy, to be honest. Of course, we never want to chase to be we want to sound like someone else, because that's not genuinely who you are. We want to compose music that sounds like you. Yeah? So all the best artists in the world throughout histories also, they compose what they feel like themselves, not chasing other people's style. There are something to be learned, however, that there is a form of music that has been working. I'm sure in pop music it's the same. In classical music you have sonata form. In pop music you have verse, chorus, all those. Those are some rules that has been working for so long. Yeah. So we could follow them, but I don't think that following the whole piece that they're trying to make it sound like completely like someone else is the way to go. So that's first part of the answer. However, regarding the storytelling part, personally, I don't think I'm much of a storyteller in music, to be honest. I do appreciate a lot of context, or when you listen to the music, you understand, there is a story behind it. There's a there's a special meaning behind the music. I certainly enjoy those, but I would say majority of the music that I really like is not really telling a story. So I appreciate music that has a craft behind it. So music itself, like if you look at a sonata, or if you look at a symphony, more often than not, it doesn't really have a story. So it's a showcase of your craft. It's a showcase of how you use harmony, how you write melody, how you work within a form. It comes down to the appreciation of the art of music. So personally, I really enjoy, I'm moved by those music. So I don't think storytelling is the most important element. It's certainly good to have. If you have a very sensitive mind to tell a story, that's certainly a bonus, I think. But just like if I'm going to make a cake, if I bake a cake, I can decorate it to be very beautiful. I can make it look like a tree. But if it tastes bad, it's still a bad cake, right? So I think music is the same way. So the storytelling, the story should be the secondary. The craft itself, the musical element should be the foremost.
Right. So
Yeah, I don't know my opinion. I'll change
But,
when I'm older. Yes.
yeah, I appreciate it because
Yeah.
I think a lot of young people might miss out on honing their craft part in the early years, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, how about competing with like international standards?
I think we don't really have to compete in a way that we copy them, because international standard, let's say Western, right? They have the style of music because of their culture and because of their history. We have to accept that we were not part of that culture, we were not part of that history, and it is not a bad thing. So what we have, our history and our culture, make us who we are, and maybe what we need is the craft, is the good craft. If we can just have the good craft, well, the product itself will bring our culture to a different level that internationally people from other countries will also be able to see and relate and appreciate that, I think.
I feel like a lot of musicians are known for their great talent, more than their individual songs or hits. Maybe they will be remembered for that, but the legacy is mostly because they are great with their craft, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool. Alright, so let's move on to the next panel real quick. For the first question, let's go to Mr. JD, can we? Okay. Alright, so you built Studio 2105 to international standards and have produced dozens of #1 hits, with many students now starting their careers in bedroom studios. What are some technical or professional legacy skills, perhaps something you learn at Synchrosound, that they are most likely to miss out on if they don't experience a professional studio environment?
Right, okay. So let me just first start off. Thanks everyone. Thank you for moderating this. Thank you also to Kaki-Sani for this invitation. Thank you to ICOM, and it's great to be in the presence of like really, fantastic, amazing panelists here. Right. I feel a little bit of an outsider here, but let me just preface this with, I don't want to sound like being the old guy in the room, okay? All right. So let me just start. Let's talk about what we consider all these legacy skills or skills that have been lost. I'm going to divide it into two categories. Number one would be related to more technical fundamentals, and the second one will be things which are the non-technical, more of communication, the communal aspects of music production and music making, right? I think I'll need to separate the two. Okay, technical is very simple, right? I think one of the things that we're seeing, that I am seeing, and Okay, I digress a little bit. I'm also the chair of the Audio Engineering Society in Malaysia section. So I'm also I have a lot of contact and communication with industry, meaning people who are employers, live sound companies, rental companies, sound installation SI companies, and all that. And they are all saying the same thing. What they're all telling me, it's the same complaint. Graduates that are coming out from colleges, universities, regardless of whether you're coming with a certificate or diploma, even degree level, are unemployable because somehow all this supposedly legacy. I hate the word legacy because it implies that it's not relevant anymore lah. You don't need it anymore. Everything can do on computer. What? Everything just tekan sudah boleh what. So it implies that it's not important. So what's being lost? Okay, right. The simple things such as understanding signal flow. They're fortunately not in ICOM. I'm not pointing because of ICOM, okay? Not because I'm here, okay? Right? But I have seen in some other colleges where sometimes the students have undergone their entire education process only ever having touched a Focusrite 2i2, 180-2020 microphone, and headphones. Beyond that, they cannot figure out how to troubleshoot, how to connect anything else really, how to interface equipment. There they are, right? So, right? Fortunately, ICOM still solid lah, okay? Right? Still solid. I'm not saying that because I'm ex-ICOM, okay? Right. So, but don't let me find out any complaints from people saying that students are like that, okay? So the basic stuff, and I could go on and on about things like bit depth, sample rate. I don't understand. We're supposed to be a much more advanced and well-read and well-educated, especially a digital age now, but people don't even understand or mix up things like your bit depth and sampling rate. You still get that basic things still, they still get basic things wrong. Okay, right, so some of these technical skills are, and there's something about that question which you mentioned actually, okay, which cycles back to my earlier point about industry. You said that, the question said that things that I learned in synchrosound, no, that's not wrong, that to me is wrong. I learned that when I was studying in actors, songwriters, arrangers, session musicians. These are the people that you need to hang around with, communicate, build, make your networks with, and and sometimes this ecosystem that exists, it's not to say it's not there, it's actually still around. I still get a lot of producers that I work with, like Helen Yap, and then when Helen Yap, she'll get a lot of really good session musicians, and you get to watch all these things happening and learn and see how the professionals do it firsthand. It's this kind of experience is really, really valuable, and it's it's worth, I don't know, it's your tuition money, it's worth more than your tuition money lah. All right, okay, I think I've had long enough around that. It's these two things, technical stuff and the communal aspect of making music.
Yeah, that's great. And great to hear ICOM standards still apply. Okay. Okay, over to our next panel. Can I go with Mr. Said? Okay. So for students who are often thought that commercial or pop music is the only viable career path in Malaysia, how do you see the legacy of contemporary classical music evolving? Is there a growing space for cross-media or experimental composition in our local industry? Or should students be looking towards international festivals to sustain their creative output?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much, Kaki Seni, for the invitation. I've been with Kaki Seni for close to 5 years now. I'm one of the judges for BOH Cameronian Arts Awards. And also thank you, ICOM, for hosting this. And this is my first time in ICOM, and I'm happy to see all of the pieces here, the building, to experience the environment here. It's good to be here. All right. Legacy and also the relevance of classical contemporary music in Malaysia, right? So, okay. I'll maybe try to share this from my own experience as a classical contemporary composer. For those who didn't really understand what is classical contemporary composer, basically we compose using a classical music context, but in various experimental ways possible, to explore and to experience music in a different ways with the performance and also the output of the music itself. When I was doing my PhD last time, when I was in Birmingham doing my PhD, I was thinking of how a small Asian girl, not so small, but how Asian girls studying in a Western studying in a Western country with Western people in a Western university, trying to break or try to come up with a new knowledge in composition and studying Western composition some more, because classical contemporary music basically Western arts derive from Western arts, right? So how do I break this? So what I did was I go back to my own interests. If I'm not a musician, I asked myself during the time, if I'm not a musician, I might be an architect, because I always interested in mechanical drawings, all those fine drawings of architecture. So how do I bring these two interests, architecture and music, into something that meaningful and into something that can be I would say can be celebrated as my PhD studies, right? So it goes back to the idea of legacy, okay? I like to connect this to the theme of for today's talk, legacy. So during that moment, trying to figure out how architecture can be in part of my composition, how my composition can be reflected to architecture and all that, right? I like to draw your attention to the word legacy itself. I would say my definition of legacy in this context probably adaptability, okay, and also contributions. Okay, let's talk about the adaptability that I did when I was doing my PhD last time. So I tried to adapt from a single architect from Spain, Antonio Gaudi, into my own composition. If you know Antonio Gaudi, if you have a chance to visit Barcelona, you might know Antonio Gaudi. He got like a bizarre spectrum of shapes and colors into his building. So how do I play with these shapes? How do I play with colors? How do I play with this morphological concept that Gaudi introduced in his building into my own composition? That's the adaptability that I found out. During that moment, I didn't really realize that I'm trying to adapt. I can talk about adaptability now, 10 years after my PhD, right? Where I actually managed to adapt. That's where bring us close to the topic where, how does this relevant, how does this, how my arts basically fit into a certain community or certain context. I would say you don't have to think about it. You just follow your passion, you just follow your interest. You have just craft it, just do it, read a lot, watch a lot, what else? Just go with it. Just trust your passion, just trust whatever that you want to do, and make sure your goal is strong enough for you to chase. Everything else will follow, trust me. So what I did was, I experienced physically into all those buildings, Antonio Gaudi's building, and then I found out a systematical composition methods. All this happened within these 3 years of PhD studies, right? So I come up with systematical methods of composition in my own composition as an experimental output, and eventually I managed to complete everything, complete the studies, right? So I managed to found a different system, a different method, and then merge it, compare it and everything, and then come up with a PhD thesis at the end of the journey. So yes, it is an adaptability process that I went through. So do I really think about how my music really fit into Malaysian context? No, I don't even think about it. Or how my music to compete with Siti Nurhaliza. I don't know. I didn't really think about it. I just follow whatever that I feel right to me, whatever things that I want to do, experiment with sound. So the keywords here is adaptability. And what I did was I sent my pieces throughout Asia, throughout European countries, throughout festivals all around the world, and my piece got selected. My piece got performed, premiered by international performers, premiered in various festivals across Europe during that time because I was based in Belgium. Yeah, so I don't even have to think about how my music really fit in. It comes naturally when you follow your own passion and your own interest towards things that you did in your music. So the second component of it is the contribution, right? So you have adaptability, and then also contributions. How do you really want to contribute towards community, towards society, and even towards your own creative output? That's where you are going to network. You have to really network and see what are the gaps that you want to fill in. You know, I would say contributions comes after the adaptability. So if you manage to adapt well, then you will manage to see what kind of gaps or what kind of I would say what kind of creative output that you want to contribute later on. All right. So yeah. That's what I understand, and that's what how do I really look at the legacy I would say theme today. And just to conclude, you know, my point of view towards making music and towards creating music is just, you know, how you adapt, well, you know, in whatever backgrounds that you have, how you adapt and how you basically explore it and contribute towards it later on. Yeah. Yeah.
And how about in outside festivals and stuff? But how about for the local industry? How's the reception, and is it sustainable for someone like you?
Okay, this is very interesting. I'm working with Sunway University as program leader, and in 2025, last year alone, okay, we're talking about the sustainability here, right? So last year alone, dealing with external parties or external artists that come into Sunway, I want to share with you, we have 25 international artists coming to my program, music performance program at Sunway University, and these people are all classical music and classical contemporary musicians. So we are not talking about jazz band, we are not talking about modern band, right? We are talking about classical musicians only in this context. So last year alone, 25 international artists came to visit Sunway and deliver concerts, masterclasses, recitals and everything. So I don't see any issue with sustainability in this, at least from my point of view, right? And I always have, you know, contacted them, and then we have a chat. You know, I ask them how do you know about Sunway? You know, who find you to come to Sunway? And they are all mostly from Western countries, in the UK, Canada. Yeah, there are many international artists that they are basically looking for opportunity. So the issue of sustainability here, I would say, if you're an artist, right? If you are an artist and if you really want to spread your wings, you just reach out. You know, you just reach out. If you have composition, just send it to all festivals. If you're a musician, just email to any organization or any institutions that host artists, right? So, yeah, I mean, similar to local context, I would say, yeah, just build your network. You know, just communicate. Don't you know? I always tell this to the students: if you're a great pianist and if you don't have network, you're just a great pianist. You know, in your bedroom, you're wasting your talent. So make sure, you know, while you're practicing your piano, you're also practicing your PR. You know, get to know people, connecting to people, you know, and try to I would say share whatever that you have online, offline, you know. So that's how people are gonna know you. Alright? So it's always 50-50, like 50% talent and 50% communication and being human. That's basically music is all about, right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Alright, so to Tuku Umar. Alright, so for students who want to incorporate traditional Malaysian instruments into modern pop or electronic music, how do you balance pushing the boundaries with the responsibility of preserving the authentic legacy of the instrument? Is there a line that shouldn't be crossed?
Okay, before that, thank you Kak Sini for having me here. Sekecil je dalam kalangan this also panels. For me, I think traditions to always evolving. But I think kita semua love doing. We always love doing. We experimenting ke pop music ke whatever. Experimenting semua. But I think the issue bukan the doing, is understanding. Issue dia. Because semua orang akan cuba untuk incorporate, to fuse, but they forgot that seperti mana all of us, macam me as an arranger, I arrange and compose. So we always try to understand the instruments, like the piano, the violin, berapa banyak kali, and then the woodwinds, the brass, the range and everything. But kita always forget yang kita nak incorporate tu, kita just always assume sampling the sound only. We assume, because in the end it's all about, do you want to translate the essence ke atau you nak sample je. So these two things akan menghasilkan bunyi yang berbeza altogether. Meaning in a way, kalau kita menghadapi kalau kita diberikan projek contohnya ini traditional ensembles or instrument, contohnya uceng or gamelan, you know. So at least kalau tidak pernah main, so you have to learn, at least dengar the sound, and at least try YouTube banyak kan. You listen, tengok teknik tu macam mana. Those were the days dulu, contohlah VST, it's all about the sound. Oh, we have gamelan sound, we have the Balinese gamelan sound. Now they even incorporate the technique in the sound itself. You can try plucking or something, you know. Meaning they value the technicalities yang the tradition tu dalam konteks dia tersendiri. Meaning the tabla punya sound, the technique within its context, the tradition, and then we always try to understand the instrument, the technique and the sound, and try bring it to the orchestration setting. I think in the end it's all about, first you must understand the functions, the philosophy of the instrument within its context, then try to put the instrument in the new environment without breaking the sound part. You just that let it flow organically to the new environment. That's itu saja. Everything is all about understanding of the instrument. Sebab in the end, penghasilan ni kita boleh dapat whether it's just you taking the sound and put it here and there, or you just taking, actually you just simply, you can say, taking the chimes and put it Javanese tone, traditional. But actually you can go beyond, try to learn the Charlipong, or you need the Zita or the Javanese, the understanding of the scale, the range and everything. The same thing that you did to the Western instrument, actually the same thing you have to do to the other instruments so that you can incorporate it. Because the Western peppermint scale is different with even the gamelan scale. You can't really find the gamelan sound in the piano most of the time. So I think it's all about appreciation, and then go deeper to the instrument, and then try to make it jangan pening-pening. jangan oh my god, it's too hard, but you just let it flow, make it natural, and then just take it apa yang you boleh ambil lah. And then lama-lama when you listen to more music, you get comfortable with the sound, you akan rasa I think I want to do more and more and more macam tu. Don't force yourself, it's just that you have to go deeper to learn more of the instrument or the tradition.
Which would you prefer if someone were to incorporate a traditional instrument, right? Would you prefer them to either do the study and everything and try to replicate as much as possible, or is it better for them to just collaborate with someone who actually does play it?
I think it depends on the project basis. Okay, for me, myself, I write for Orchestra Traditional Malaysia, Istana Budaya sebelah ni, and Malaysian Philharmonic Orchestra. But at the same time, myself, I belajar dekat Aswara, so I got both world lah. Meaning, I learn the gamelan, I learn the Charlipong, and then I have a friend who play tabla. I just like, hey, how's the tabla? Tak kita sedap. Oh, so you learn macam self-learning lah with your friend semua. But at the same time, my study is arranging and composition. So I get both role lah in a way. So I can incorporate. But I think yang menarik adalah you can see the similarities, meaning in a sense of music to, they can speak for itself. With whether it's Western, classical or pop, they have something to say through timbres, through scales. Although diorang tak work each other dalam konteks, hurts lah bahasa saya, because gamelan sound different, kau pula another different ragas and everything kan. But kalau kita nampak kesamarataan dia, they have something to tell, dan diorang sebenarnya music language tu sama. So kita yang mendengar perlu find a way to craft it like as an arranger. You have to fine tune here and there, but the only way for you to fine tune it is to understand at least the basic musicality or musical aspect of each instrument or ensemble.
So a bit of you should be familiar with everything that you're involved in, right?
Saya tak ingat who's the composer, but dia kata as an arranger or composer, you don't have a choice but to be like a chameleon.
Right.
Meaning sometimes you blue, sometimes you red, sometimes you pink, because you are working with different projects. Tak semestinya you need to be semua pun bagus, but at the same time at least you know the basic or the setting of the project, at least the essence of everything, so that you can work with apa yang you best do as an arranger or a composer. So those things are tools for you, but you need to be a chameleon lah untuk jadi versatile dalam perjuangan yang buat.
Right, cool. Alright, so moving on to the second question for our panel. We'll go back to Caleb. Yeah. Okay, in the current local industry, is it possible for a student to succeed in by specializing in just one area, like a piano performance, for example? Or should they be actively building a multi-hyphenate career like yours to ensure a sustainable future in the Malaysian art scene?
Short answer is very difficult, but there is still hope to, what I meant is to be a specialist. I see it because the internet kind of helped. Putting yourself out there on YouTube or whatever, sometimes that would do something for an artist, but a lot of it is also luck, and yeah. So, but I do want to make a difference in saying that well, the term specialist. How do we see how do you define what is a specialist? I would say that a good specialist doesn't mean that he or she only do one thing. Okay, so but a lot of times students or young musicians nowadays, we have this romanticized idea, especially for classical music, that we want to be a specialist, which means if I play piano, I only play piano. I won't do anything else. Everything else, you do it for me. I play piano. Yeah. So I think it's a romanticized idea coming from a misunderstanding from seeing other artists out there. But from my understanding, even like the musicians in the world, top musicians in the world, they are specialists, but they do multiple things too. Pianists, they teach, they do master classes. They are juries in competitions. So they're doing a lot of things besides the performance element. So, but them being a specialist is just that when it comes to that piano performance part, they can be very reliable. They are the best among their peers. Yeah. So I think that is a better way to define the word specialist. Yes, you are doing multiple things. You want to be you want to diversify yourself. You want to adapt, so to say. Right? You want to be able to handle challenges when it comes your way. But at the same time, you are specialized in something that you can be proud of when you produce something that
you are proud to put it in front of people. So that for me is the specialist. So it kind of goes both ways. So I think it, in Malaysia we don't have such a huge market for classical performances, at least not the funding or like audiences in this case. But yeah, so we have to survive. So we have to work on any other things. We have to adapt. But that, I think, depends on your luck also, and whether you get an opportunity that you can sustain yourself. Some of us are lucky enough, some of us not so much. What I can encourage is only that when you're still young, when you're pursuing music, starting this career, how you do small things is how you do everything. How you do one thing is how you do everything, and people see that. And when your peers starting to notice that you will always, your work ethic is this way, then you will find yourself very difficult to get other opportunities from that moment onward. And opportunity will come, but it will usually not stay if it's not the right person. So I think that adaptability, that being versatile, it also not limit to the craft of music. It also goes to how you behave as a human being. What do you aspire to be? What kind of musician? What ethics do you have? So that, I think, really means something instead of being versatile in many different ways that you can't really focus on one craft.
So it's more about how you carry yourself versus that conflict, right? And I guess to summarize a little bit, it's more like jack of all trades, but be a master of at least one.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I often think about like musicians that orchestra musicians, because we have projects that we conduct orchestras. Sometimes we need to hire certain players. My colleagues will share the same thing with me also, that there are some musicians that we will avoid in some ways, and we just will politely, we won't tell them why, but we just, if we have some other options, we just won't go for that particular player, right? So no matter how good that player is. So I guess that work ethic really does mean something to at least in the community of musicians, for our local scene, if we want to work with other people. So I think that will be the important part.
Okay, moving over to JD. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Portrait, perhaps. Okay, so Portrait successfully broke into markets like Japan and Thailand. For our music production students and business students, what is the most important lesson you've learned about exporting Malaysian music? Is it about the technical quality of the mix, or is it more about how you build an international network and community, as you've done with Project EAR?
Right, okay, thank you for the question. Well, this is a tough one actually. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky question because, if I have the real answer, if I have the actual answer, I wouldn't be sitting here, I'd be, on my yacht somewhere, sitting there, okay, on my business jet, I'll be flying first class, okay. So let's just address, okay, a couple of things first up, right? So the question talked about the technical quality. Okay, there are some other phrases that I'm going to leave you all with, especially because you all are ICOM students, right? Okay, there's two things. A great mix does not necessarily have a great sound. Think about that, okay? A great mix does not necessarily have a great sound. Now on the flip side, okay, another thing you also need to, another phrase that's going to you find very valuable is, if the song sucks, right? You know, if subjectively, right, somebody thinks the song is not nice, it doesn't matter how good your mix is or how technically perfect your production is, they're going to think it sucks anyways. Okay, so these are some two things which I think you find very valuable to think about, right? As music production students, as audio engineers, when you want to further your career, right? Great mix does not really have a great sound. So now this does not imply that technical quality is not important, because the worst thing, the comment that you can get on when you put your music out, you know, the worst comment you get, it sounds local. Not to say bad, you know, in some context, all right, of music, the intention is to sound local. Then okay lah. But let's talk about, okay, you guys are a contemporary music school, so you know, let's assume that most of you all are doing a lot of contemporary music, and so immediately the bar is set really, really high. You have everything that's, you know, in Billboard or Spotify charts. Some people say Billboard also not relevant really nowadays. You know, you have everything that's in the you know, K-pop sets a really, really high standard. You know, for example, so technical excellence is something that needs to be striven for. You know, that's no excuse, right? So unfortunately, the cliche answer I'm going to give is that, right? You can try to strive as much as possible to, you know, meet those kind of international standards, you know, but you got to bear in mind we are working with a tenth of the budget of what some major label staff are working with, okay? That's something you need to be aware of. And so to be able to get what we can do, or do what Bob Shaw managed to do at a tiny fraction of whatever budget they have, I would say I'm very proud of the achievements. But one thing that I think was really important, now you mentioned about building the networks and building these international communities. I think that really played a big role, and you know, Bob Shaw started at, I would say, really the infancy or you know, the early introduction of the World Wide Web. You know, so we're one of the early bands that actually had a website and put up our music for free. It's free downloads on our website actually, and it was true that this will diverge into a 45-minute story, so I will not go in there, right, of how it happened and how it happened. You can ask me afterwards. But yeah, you know, leverage on that. You definitely want to leverage on, you know, your communities and all that. I think one important thing that I think kind of tags on to what some of our panelists have said is that, and also the question about being specialists, is that probably you should try and reconsider, you know, instead of doing everything yourself, doing it DIY, so to speak, right? There is this culture or mindset that because, you know, I got no budget, I don't have the resources, I have to DIY lah, do it yourself lah. No doubt, sometimes that is a reality, that is an experience that we have to do it ourselves. But when you have the opportunity, when you have the chance, I think you can actually reach out and actually find a lot more help, a lot more resources out there, or expertise from elsewhere if you need the help. So it cycles back again to my earlier point about building networks. You know, don't exist in your own silo, don't exist in your own little bubble. Go out, reach, communicate, network, and on the basis of Project EAR, let me just explain what Project EAR is. Project EAR is actually a collective of several bands and acts that are from Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, Singapore, basically around Southeast Asia. EAR stands for East Asian Revolution. Before we even came up with a name, what it was just us that say, hey, we're gonna do a show in we're gonna do a show in the Philippines, for example, then you definitely communicate and you deal with the local people there, right? A band there, you most probably a band would act. You connect that way, see. And so we struck off with a band like in Philippines. We struck a relationship with a band called Slapshot, right? Who played very similar style of music, but they were very big in their own country. And so when we go there, they would help to. They were so generous, they would help to sort out things like press, sort out media, sort out accommodation, sort out our transport. They took care of all these things for us. They're so generous and so helpful with that. And then likewise, when they came to Malaysia, we did the same. We brought them along with, back then it was the Kami tour. Kami tour. Okay, it's 2008, I think.
They're a bit too young for that.
Yeah, a bit too young for that, Yeah. But that was the age when independent music was a buzzword in the zeitgeist. Okay, alright. Anyway, so we did the same for them, and it's I wouldn't say quid pro quo. So we helped them, they helped us, and that was the basis for that relationship. We started out purely because of that, because you generally were generous. You honestly wanted to help each other out. So I think that was really what helped to sort of bring and make that a reality. That really helped music get around. It's really through the friends that we make. There is another saying, again very cliche, but it really helps. You think global, you got to think worldwide, but you act local on the ground. You got to be able to connect locally with people as well. Yes, you have big ideas and big dreams of making it internationally everything, but don't forget that you can always pull from resources. There are people within your local community that can help as well. Right, that's my answer. I have some other things, but I'll leave it for the later Q&A. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the friends you make along the way, right? I mean, we do have international acts who come in, but I would say they're not always like top level acts. It might be some underground ones, some indie bands or whatnot that may be more accessible to our students perhaps when they work together in the studio or they hang out during their tour and stuff like that, right? So that's also a chance to connect.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it doesn't have to be the big act that's touring. It can be just it can be. Surprisingly, Malaysia actually is quite a attractive tourist spot for people, musicians. So you actually have musicians who are just passing by, coming in for a holiday here and there. So me as a studio owner, I actually get calls and inquiries from musicians to come in. Hey, I need to get a studio, book band, and I meet with these some really interesting people as well from the States. The furthest one I ever got was from Finland. I had this engineer that came from Finland. So again, it's a good excuse to get within the studio environment, so you get to meet all these cool people.
Like be great with people anyway, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to Dr. Syed again. Okay, so Dr., from your perspective, what is the most important legacy shift happening in our educational framework right now? How can students ensure that they are not just getting a degree, but are meeting the high international benchmarks required to compete in a global industry that is increasingly influenced by cross-disciplinary research and technology?
Okay, well, this is like asking how university can provide Tony
Sure.
Tomhade or good figure, So yeah, let's just bring this to the historical context a little bit. In 2006, the education landscape in Malaysia was introduced to outcome-based education, right? That was originated in 2006, like 20 years ago. So in this outcome-based education, students were taught to achieve certain outcomes, right? If you have 10 outcomes, then you're going to achieve 10 outcomes at the end of the study, right? So when we say outcomes, meaning we preset those outcomes, right? This was the trend since 2006, right? And most of professionals in Malaysia that we have nowadays, they are coming from this outcome-based education, okay? Including me, including people on the stage, including your teachers, including your parents, So they are all from outcome-based education. But, we are living in a very colorful world right now, right? So this shift towards more, I would say, fluid and more, I would say, abstract kind of education has been, they have been discussing about how we can shift this. So recently, in 2-3 years back, education in Malaysia, especially in the higher level educations, we are talking about value-based education. Wow, so what's value-based education? So those who are graduating from the university, they are very valuable. We can value things now, or so meaning there are no presets of things when they graduate, right? Okay, like what J.D. Wong mentioned just now. Okay, certain universities, they can do this technical thing, but other universities cannot do this technical thing. Maybe because the university decided on certain outcomes compared to other universities where they decided certain outcomes. That's why the students or graduates, might be different from university to university. But value-based educations that we are exploring right now, it will be a different outcomes. Your kids later on might have a different thinking, might have a different process when we value things, right? So I would say it's a very interesting moment for education in Malaysia right now, as we are exploring this. But if you ask me personally, right, in the context of music, I would advise, or I would say to my students that, even when you're coming to the university, you want to have your degree at the end of it. It's a qualification-based education. You want to get your qualification. Why don't you take this opportunity and take it or turn it into capability-based education, where you explore your capabilities in your studies. Okay, so what capability? What are you talking about? We go to class and then we do assignments. What capability are we talking about, right? So yes, there are a lot of elements in your study: knowledge, communication skill, entrepreneurship skills. All those are being evaluated in your 3 years or 2 years program in the university, if you don't know, right? But it doesn't mean that you are stopped to be exploring different things, right? You are capable to do many other things based on these components that the university are teaching you, right? Yes, you are coming to class, you do assignment, and then you balik, you tidur, right? So if you are someone who are very explorative and then you want to explore your own capabilities, you might do something extra. For example, you go to class, you learn about this company and how this company really produce a good thing. You balik rumah and then you start googling and you start communicating to those companies. That's capability that I'm talking about right now. Meaning you are taking further from knowledge that you gain in your class. Okay? So okay, let's give another example. What are other examples that we can explore in this capability-based education? I would say create your own portfolio lah. If you're a musician, you create your own videos. Showcase your talent, showcase your skill, capabilities, whatever skills that you have in your instrument. If you're a composer, yes, compose, showcase it, perform it. Work with international, local artists. Make your music heard. If you are I would say a lighting designer, yeah, showcase it. Build your portfolio. That's one of the examples. So build your portfolio. Number 2, be good with technology. We have AI now. Be friends with your AI. Okay. Learn how to manipulate it, how to use it, how to leverage on it. Be good with it. I mean, like our generation, your generation, especially we work with AI a lot after this, right? So use it wisely. Take this opportunity and then take it, use whatever knowledge that you have in your university and then push it further with AI. What else? Portfolio and then network. Oh, this is super important. You are a musician, you are an artist, you produce your own creative output. You have to network, you have to share. You have to, feel the encouragement and also rejection from people around you. You have to feel it, with your own product, with your own creative output. And then, explore whatever that you have in your class, in your assessment, and then push it. This is what I mean, we are shifting, to be honest with you, we are shifting. And people in the education sector, they are not just sitting there and watch, they are basically thinking of how the education landscape in Malaysia can be shifted towards more, I would say, sustainable in the education sector. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to share. Meaning, our next generation in the future might have different set of thinking, might have processed differently from us, because we are coming from this set of education and they are coming from a different set of education. So we are in the process of shifting it. So it's going to be very interesting. Please be open-minded towards it. And you're gonna see how Malaysia will flourish. I mean, gradually will flourish after this, with this shiftment.
So, I mean, we do see a lot of progress in education, with a lot of changes, and now there's TVET as well coming in, right? But I think, to summarize your point, I think it cannot just stop at us educators. I think the students themselves have to be proactive in what they're doing and really going towards their passion, but also on the way you need to go through these other steps and make sure you get great network, great attitude, great output every time, right? Hone your skills, hone your craft, all towards your passion, right? You never know how exactly you're gonna get there, but you have to be proactive anyway.
Yeah. I like to extend when you mentioned about student rely too much at college or at classroom, right? When I was in Birmingham, we are different. I mean, I really experienced that students were directing the class. What we have at the very beginning of the semester is this is what we're going to do, and then the entire semester was driven by the students. Students decide what kind of assessment, students decide what kind of project they want to do. The students decide everything, and it was amazing. I feel like I'm lucky to experience those kind of settings in the UK. This was maybe 10 years ago. But yeah, I would really hope to see Malaysian classroom or Malaysian university going to these directions. Lecturers here are only, I would say, assisting whatever that you want to achieve in that specific classroom. What we set is, is like a general values of the course, and then you guys are going to direct it. What kind of assessment, what kind of projects, you discuss it, you communicate with other industries, and industry people and all that. It's gonna, it was a very meaningful moment as a student last time when I experienced this, and I'm hoping that this is the directions that we are going.
I mean, even if we don't get there yet, I think what's interesting about your scenario that you just mentioned is the lifelong learning attitude, right? The things that you take from college, the research, the punctuality and everything, right? All those you take on for a journey of self-learning in the workplace or just in between jobs, whatever it is, right? So just to grow and keep learning.
I just really want to add this one. So what's the difference, this type of students and with what we have currently in Malaysia? So in my classroom last time, the difference was the capability of the students to challenge the idea, the capability of the students to divert the discussion. It can be heated argument sometimes with the lecturer, with the peers, but it was amazing. We can see how something that can be critically discussed in the classroom setting, with this kind of arrangement that I said. I mean, students directed learning. It's amazing. I really hope that this is where we are going, especially when we talk about music. We are living in a very abstract understanding and acceptance towards creative output, right? So some people might agree with this sound, some people might not. So this is the place, the playground that we can, be critical towards something, and this is the classroom setting that I would hoping to see in the next future generation of students and universities.
A bit late, so we're gonna go for the final question for Dr. Omar. So, based on your experience, you have bridged the gap between traditional sounds and massive pop orchestral production. For aspiring arrangers at ICOM, what is the secret to making traditional elements feel big enough for an orchestra like the MPO, while ensuring they don't get drowned out by Western symphonic sounds?
I think agak pendek lah. I think it's not about volume against volume. Dia bukan traditional pun nak the same volume with the orchestra. MPO when I got every time I'm blessed bila dapat project with MPO kan, while writing for the 100 orchestra, kita ya Allah banyaknya kan. But it's not about volume against the volume, because I think it's all about giving space for the traditions to be heard. Meaning bila kita do orchestration, first that it's all about layering, hundreds of instrument layering, but the other thing is framing. Meaning if you want some instrument, it doesn't have to be tradition, it could be one instrument or soloist. If you want that instruments to be heard, meaning the rest you need to be minimized in textures, silent. I still remember my arranger teacher always ingatkan saya silent is music too. Sangat mendalam. Even sekarang pun saya dapat goosebumps bila cakap, because kita always realize kita musician, we do music, it's all about sound, rupanya actually ada another element yang kita lupa, is the silence. The anti-drop, the silence before the booming, benda-benda tu lah. So I think when we want to incorporate other instruments or traditions or even any sounds, if you need to be clear, then reduce everything so that it can be heard clearly. Or if you want to make it interesting, then create combinations, meaning as simple as bassoon with 2 octaves with the flute. It sounds so different. Why so different? So it creates interest in people's ears. This sound, what is that? But actually it's just orchestrating, the way you orchestrate textures and everything. Same with traditional instrument. Even for traditional, they have their own character, the sound. So use that unique character in their own respective melody or scales. But the rest macam instead of semua macam contoh if you want, if you know the gamelan sound is echoey, right? Suddenly when the gamelan, you do this for gamelan, suddenly ada brass orang so you tak boleh dengar dah. First 2 brasses instrument playing with each other and it's loud. The brass confirm akan overflow dekat depan, dan gamelan just kita tengok macam mimicking, actually they are playing, but the sound tak transfer. So I think it's all about understanding the sound, the texture, and then give space to the sound. Itu very very important for me. And just want to share, because I just finished arranging for Bel Sisowski. If you know Bel Sisowski, it's a local EDM artist and instrumentalist kan. So bila dapat call for Gerald Salonga, the conductor, dia nak kita write, and then he said okay, it's going to be a lot of elements. Yes, I know, because she's an instrumentalist playing different traditional instrument, and another element is EDM. Oh my god, it's crazy already. And orchestra. So there's a lot of elements there macam pusat sebenarnya nak buat ni kan, because in our back of brain it's I have to do a lot of work trying to give justice to every element. So that is framing, meaning as a student dulu, for me as a student, you guys now student, we always try to put everything idea at one go. Okay, here, this is going to be it. But actually,
when you growing up and learn, I mean, belajar, always sentiasa belajar kan. So bila you belajar arranging, then you realize, oh, you have to give space, you have to use this is going to be special part. You put here the idea or other ideas. So you don't put everything in one go. You have to space it out. So I think the student always, I think for me pun dulu, still learning how to manage the idea or the punchline, everything. Always, even for me now. So elemen yang banyak doesn't mean it's going to be good for you. But it's going to be challenging for you to give justice to every element so that it sounds nice to everyone. It doesn't sound clouded or everything. So that's the challenge. I think it's all about framing the idea so that in any instrument that given to you is going to be sounds great as long as you frame it, give it nafas dekat space yang dia perlu diberikan lah. Macam tu.
Yeah, a breather space or proper breathing space for every instrument. Yeah, I mean it's something that I've recently learned for my own music as well, trying to space out because I was trying to do different things before this. But yeah, that's great because sometimes you hear people overdo things, right? Yeah. Okay, so one final question in general, open to the floor. It's okay. Hear the question first.
Okay.
Okay.
Hear the question first.
Okay. So, in an era where AI and digital distribution are changing music every day, of course, what is the one thing about Malaysian music industry that you hope will never change for the next generation? Hope so.
Jadi,
Anyone? All of you, really. A little bit of each.
Doctor, please.
Not to change, right? Yeah. Oh, I like change. I like changes. It's a tough question for me.
Wrong person.
This answer might not be specifically on the music output lah, but I would say the attitude wise, I really hope that music industry in attitude wise will keep our collaborative efforts together and make it better, because I'm also one of the jury for Anugerah Lagu Indie. I often see like people in this side of the world are not really into this side of the world, but things getting better. And then I also perform with the industry. I perform with RTM not recently. Different group of people, different group of topics when they discuss, but it's getting better. So things that I want to preserve, even though we have AI, maybe in attitude wise, we collaborate each other in most of the project and in most of the ideas. But this might not be the best answer because I love changes. I love things to change for better. But yeah, so attitude wise, I would say let's work collaboratively together among us. Even though we have AI, I'm not sure how AI related to this question, but yeah. Maybe someone else want to answer first while I'm thinking.
I can expand on that a little bit. I think the AI part it kind of drives people to think that they can do everything themselves now, right? Yeah, the isolation part. So we should preserve the collaborative
effort,
yeah.
attitude-wise.
Yeah, I really I understand that perspective that you like changes, but I can speak from my perspective as because I am very traditionalist, so I actually very much embrace tradition. So I guess that's why. But I do every time meet people like from. It's not about genre. It's not about classical. It's not about pop or whatever. Because the musicians, there are artists everywhere that are pretty traditionalist in a sense that we feel that because when I was in US studying, what draws me to classical music is the whole environment of the classical culture. Like unlike Malaysia, like musicians there are very much surrounded by an environment that's like actively supports classical music being performed, musicians getting a job. You can hear good classical music everywhere, even in a small town. So when I was in my university, we study about like Rachmaninoff, we've heard about Bernstein, but those are the very buildings that they were mentioned to. Oh yeah, this is the building that Rachmaninoff was here performing with the Westminster Choir. So it was a very special feeling to be in that environment. And so I have always, I think, I don't know, have a feeling that I carry something back from US, that I carry a certain element that I want this to continue. And so in a way, the students who love classical music, who never got to experience that, I also feel kind of pity for them, because I want them. I really hope they can enjoy that, like that sense of I'm carrying this tradition that has been like hundreds of years old, and it actually means something. It happens because of something. So I'm not someone that is very keen to tear down a wall, as I always say. I think if we want to tear down a wall, we need to know why the wall was built first. So, but a lot of time, I think the attitude of AI is let's just get rid of the waiting time, you know? Let's just tear down something, and let's just get rid of the efforts. And people use AI to create music. They don't want to put in the effort. They just want the gratification of feeling they're making music. So this is a thing that I feel like I want to sustain. I don't want to miss it from AI. Is the sense of music making has been here for a very, very long time. In Western country, in here, there is a tradition, there is a way of doing things, and I hope that the value of those are still being understood. And you might not agree with it, you might want to change it, good, but understand it first. Don't be so eager to change things. Yeah, that's how I feel. Yeah.
That's maybe two of us.
Yeah.
AI. For me, I expect AI to basuh my laundry lah, instead of thinking articulation for me. But kita tak boleh halang AI. But what we can do with it, we at least in a way that we always use it. Music always through generation ada retool kan. Even for you student sebelum ni sebenarnya, now the record, now what, next what, suddenly click all, everything's ready for you. Yeah, kan? So I think for me, I don't want Malaysian music untuk tinggalkan the storytelling, because I think storytelling, it represents and it preserves identity. Contoh, I can bagi contoh for gamelan. Those were days gamelan in the palace only, on what I know. And later on, the palace, the nobility have stories to tell through gamelan. And then 1969, they keluar from istana, especially for the Malay gamelan lah. And then the citizen, rakyat boleh experiment and play with it. So the rakyat ada story to tell through the gamelan. So it's all about storytelling through music. I think storytelling tu dia parallels dengan identity kita, sebab kita create, kita discuss through stories, words and everything. So for Malaysian music, storytelling kita, Southeast Asian kaya dengan cerita. The identity kita sangat kaya dengan kepelbagaian. So I think kepelbagaian tu yang kita perlu pertahankan through storytelling musically. So I think itu sangat penting apart from AI kan. So you have to live with it, but jangan jadi hamba AI, because AI is by people, so you control it in a way.
Okay. I'm sure JB has a lot more to say. I think all of them, all three of them have really hit on the really important points.
So just I'm not gonna repeat those again. Just so you know, I mean, AI obviously it's here to stay. My opinion is that it is a tool, and it's already being used by the top producers and arrangers already. If you're talking about over in the West, it's already embedded in their workflow already. Now, of course, the right way to use it is not to generate a song or lyric idea from scratch, but you put in you use it. In a sense, it takes the place of the arranger, right? That's how they are using it now. But in the pop market, that's what it is. It is a numbers game. It is a volume business. Okay, they do a volume business, so it helps them to churn out as much music as possible. Whether that's a good thing or not, that's a whole different question. Okay, now that's already in the industry, in the business. So you will have to embrace it one way or another. It feels like the Pandora's box is open already. The floodgates open. You can't, no matter how much you scream or complain on Facebook or whatever about it, you're not going to stop it. It is already prevalent out there already. So I agree on a couple of points where I think Caleb mentioned. One of the things that you do see, and I saw this comment as well on social media about the use of AI, is that making music used to be about, not necessarily about the end result. I think for many of us here, it was about our craft. It was about our journey throughout getting our craft out. It was the hours of practicing, learning our instrument, learning theory, learning all the and studying all these audio concepts, learning how to mix, learning how to use a microphone, learning how to EQ. Now, if the AI has taken all of that away, I feel sad because it has taken away that experience of. I wonder anyway. I wonder. There are people who are definitely perfectly happy with making and creating AI productions and happy with it. They're happy with the comments at the end. It's like, wow, it's good comment. Good song, or the number of likes that they get. But I feel that it's kind of tragic and sad that they've never had the opportunity of going through that process, going through that growth of, looking back and then saying that, wow, last time I put in all this time of practicing my craft, and look what I can do now. You see, so I feel it's a bit of a tragedy. Well, I think another thing as well that I think won't change, and I hope doesn't change, and I think AI is great for doing things that you want quickly done, right? It's replaced commercials, music. If you just need some kind of a generic commercial jingle for anything, just use AI to do it, okay? Right? Because your client wants it fast and all that anyway, right? It's good for maybe just background music. I'm not sure in film scoring also, it's really changing the game. Maybe not for major big budget Hollywood stuff. They still hire like a composer, you get Hans Zimmer, Alan Silvestri, whoever, right? Or John Williams, right? God bless his soul. Right? John, you're still alive, right? Okay. He's so old though. When he's conducting, it's like I'm very scared he's going to. Yeah. Okay, sorry, but a bit morbid. Yeah. But if big budget, then cannot. But for smaller productions or college projects, you need your scoring done. That's how they're using it nowadays. Sound design. I think a lot of sound designers are out of job when you can so easily create, they can analyze the scene, the footage, and create all your Foley for you, all the sound effects, and that's I don't know how it's going to again for generic stuff, yes, but for the big budget Hollywood stuff, I know that they will still rely on actual artists, actual Foley artists to do it. maybe it will speed up the process. Maybe during the temp, when they do a temporary track, a temp score for the film, just to facilitate the storyboarding process, to make it faster, so that they get an idea of how the whole thing would look. I think that's really helpful. AI is really helpful. But because AI is so good at making the generic stuff, I think this is going to put more value to the things which are real and authentic now. I think there's going to be a lot more, we will appreciate live music and live performances much more. It no longer becomes the common thing, When AI generated music becomes the generic thing, live music becomes special, then it becomes the rare commodity. So I hope that doesn't change. I think we have a vibrant live music community, be it in jazz, be it in the independent scene, be it in classical music as well, traditional music. Hopefully that doesn't change. They have to spit on so many great points. The diversity is also one of the things, the beauty of Malaysian music as well, and got so many questions, but maybe another time, another discussion.
Yeah, I can go on as well.
Yeah.
A little bit. You say the generic part, right? What I understand is that AI takes at least the best of the average, but it's still average of everything it does, whether it's text generation, image generation, or music, right? So for you as a musician or as an artist to push further, you still have to input your own essence into it, your own skills into it, right? If not, you just settle for average. Yeah. Okay, I think we have time for one last question. No? One audience question? No? Yes, audience question. Yes. Mic is there.
Tak apa.
Bagi.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon to moderator, to panelist. Terima kasih to BOH Cameronian kat sini kerana membawa panel expert-expert yang ada kat sini. Izinkan saya untuk bercakap dalam bahasa Melayu. Hai juga kepada semua student. Saya harap anda semua dapat absorb semua yang disampaikan oleh expert kita pada hari ini. Saya Falik, saya juga student, tapi saya bukan daripada ICOM. Saya daripada OC. This is my card. I'm master dalam seni persembahan. Dan saya seorang sound engineer. Dan saya dah ada di dalam industri ini lebih daripada 24 tahun. Dan hari ini kenapa saya di sini? Sebab saya sayangkan industri ini dan saya sayangkan bidang saya, audio engineering. As a sound engineer, kadang kita pun pening. Audio engineer ke sound engineer? Dekat depan tu kita ada nampak audio engineer, kita ada sound engineer. Tapi ini bukan yang perlu kita nak highlightkan. Hari ini sebenarnya apa yang saya nak cuba bertanyakan kepada expert yang ada kat depan saya, kan? Bagaimana langkah untuk kita dapatkan satu platform untuk semua anak-anak bangsa kita hari ini di Malaysia untuk dapat satu asas ataupun tempat untuk belajar audio engineering secara formal dan pure. Sebab hari ini saya boleh katakan di dalam Malaysia kita tak ada lagi pure audio engineering. Tapi kita ada expert, jujur, dan mereka dapat melalui pengalaman mereka itu sendiri yang ambil daripada luar negara, through experience. Saya sudah bergelumang dalam industri ini dengan pelbagai, dan saya punya expertise di dalam live sound. Saya ada dua antara yang boleh saya sebutkan. Kalau orkestra, saya boleh sebutkan dua orkestra yang sangat saya suka dan saya kagumi. Iaitu pertama sekali OTM, Orkestra Tradisional Malaysia. Saya bekerja rapat dengan arwah Tuan Yazid Zakaria, OTM. Dan antara last saya beri sentuhan dengan OTM ialah konsert antara Timur, Siti Nurhaliza, the first. Okay, hari ini saya suka juga untuk sebutkan saya juga terlibat dalam teater musikal. Teater musikal antaranya ialah impak maksimal dan musikal. First, jadi dia tahu tentang perkara ni, muzik yang dia guna pakai. Saya bekerja dapat. Okay. Kenapa hari ini saya bercakap tentang perkara ini dan kenapa saya buat ini? Saya disaring bukan sekadar melalui pembelajaran, saya disaring juga oleh MKA dan saya disaring pula oleh universiti. Di antara paling last sekali, last something is UPSI. So hari ini saya bermula untuk belajar audio engineering melalui Ocean Institute of Audio Technology. Dan tak ada pun saya hari ini dah susah. Dan saya tak tinggal untuk sebutkan ICOM. Saya kena sebut ICOM ini sebab bermula ini semua melalui ICOM. Seorang sahabat saya kata, bro, boleh ajar saya tak bro? Macam mana nak buat sound ni, macam mana nak set up all this PA system? Dia kata, bro, saya tak dapat nak ajar awak sebab saya belajar pun melalui proper education 3 tahun diploma in ICOM. Oh, di situlah bermula saya tahu rupanya audio engineering ni kena belajar. Dia tak boleh through experience tu suka. Yes, boleh. But dia akan susah lah sebenarnya. Kita tak tahu. Contoh dia timbre. Apa itu timbre? Of course, the terminology kita kena apply. Betul tuan? Kita kena apply. Jadi itu saya kata terminology. Jadi hari ini saya terpanggil. Kenapa saya sampai di sini? Kenapa saya sampai di UPSI? Dan saya memerlukan semua ini untuk saya kata di mana tempat untuk kita mencari pembelajaran yang mungkin doktor pun boleh membantu saya kan. Bagaimana? Dan kenapa ini perlu? Saya kata kenapa ini perlu? Sebab dia akan hari ini yang akan rasa tergugah, rasa susah ialah musician, music director. Sebab kita tak ada kalau mungkin muzik untuk composer on the studio side, saya bermula dengan akar karya dekat studio. Tapi saya rasa macam my boss is Dr. Sheila Majid. Dan saya rasa saya tak feel dekat sini. Dan saya minta izin dekat Dr. Aziz, bang, saya boleh tak saya keluar. Dan first my touch dekat luar ialah teater Piramli dan Musical. Dan saya bekerja dengan Erwin Gutawa. Dan ini antara orkestra yang saya kagum lah. Dan sehingga ke hari ini dah melebihi daripada 20 tahun, saya kata kat mana anak-anak ini nak belajar secara proper, secara betul, tahu, dan mereka boleh berkembang secara baik dalam industri. Kepada penggiat industri pula, mereka lead kepada contoh dia, bro, please give me a great sound, a good sound. Dia orang main dah cukup baik, macam yang Tuan Jadi kata tadi, dah cukup bagus dah main. The musician atas tu hebat, tapi sound yang keluar ni bukan seperti ini yang perlu nak sampai. Jadi hari ini tuan-tuan, saya terpanggil, macam mana kita nak build industri ni? Bagaimana caranya? Dekat mana kita nak bermula? Saya rasa cukup sekat tu. Terima kasih. Terima kasih semua.
Alright, thank you. So basically, where and how do we build a platform for everyone to learn audio engineering?
Yes.
Yeah. I guess to support what the colleges have been doing. Yeah. Any ideas? Maybe for people who may not have the access to colleges. Yeah.
Okay, sejujurnya I can tell you one thing. I think those schools are gone. You tak akan dapat cari sekolah ataupun institusi yang ajar audio engineering secara pure. Even dari 20 tahun dulu, even SAE already, starts to diversify into a media school. They're more of a media school because industry demand. It's a super complicated punya topik lah. Okay, dia buat topik yang I rasa kita boleh debate, kita boleh bincang sampai pagi esok pun tak akan selesai lah. Okay? So, but to point you to that, I nak kata most of the colleges now, khusus yang mereka offer now is music production. It's marketed as music production lah. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, memang you do touch on the audio engineering topics, but sometimes very basic.
Yep.
one semester je, and
Yes.
then after that.
Betul.
Which goes back to my earlier point. I agree. I memang 100% agree with you. Itu actually problem with the industry. So like I said lah, live sound punya company rental, people who are the sound as installers and all that, semua pun complain begitu.
Yeah.
You know, you graduate with music production diploma and degree, tapi I tak boleh hire you because
Yeah.
you know. On one hand, again, it's my personal opinion lah.
Yeah.
Please correct me because you are
Yeah.
and you're educated. You might have a much better insight on this. You know, I think maybe it's more profitable to sell and market a music production course. You know, to sell that dream, that idea of wah, I boleh jadi music producer lah. I nak jadi producer, I nak jadi sound engineer, I nak jadi mixing engineer, mix lagu-lagu. You know, the latest hits and all that. You know, so there is that, okay? Which, and again, it's not wrong to follow and pursue your dreams, but I kesian when they graduate and cannot find any jobs.
Betul.
Then we complain, then kena pergi kerja retail, you know, or Grab or something. It's real. I have had, you know, friends from who have had to do that, and credit to some of them, they did that, and then many years later, they managed to circle back and really get back into the studio side of things lah. So what I think kita nampak sekarang is that the private punya industry punya side, apa yang mereka buat, some of them they have started their own small academies. So they actually started by they actually are sound rental live sound company, right? I won't mention that there are a few, right? So they want to start their own punya academy and start to train their own, take on students, and in fact I think some of them are trying to get MQA certification, from Kementerian, to actually start the actual course and program because sad to say most of the colleges, universities are not fulfilling the need, so they are starting with that, but we know it's not an easy process, bukan senang lah proses untuk sebab you can get all the accreditation and all that and all this, so it takes time. Unfortunately now for pure audio, it's very hard. I don't think mungkin I know in Tibet there is some Tibet college yang ada khusus lagi, tapi kalau tak silap satu je. There's only one Tibet college that does that. Yeah. Which is sad because there is a demand. These companies are actually need, sound is not just about making music or live sound is a big demand for people who are technically proficient in all those things. In audio now, the buzzword is actually, it's no longer audio, it's AVL, audio, video and lighting.
Yes.
So you're talking about terms like we call unified communications. That's doing really, really well because that means sound systems for conferences, for teaching, for schools, for learning rooms, learning centers. That audio field, they actually are in great demand of for graduates, for workforce who can do that. So keep your options open. As students, you should keep your options open. There are all these out there. It's not just strictly, not necessarily in music. I have a friend, another friend of mine who actually does all the cinema, a lot of the cinemas and theaters here in Malaysia, and he cannot find anyone. He has to, where does he has to hire staff from? He has to hire staff from China, because nobody in Malaysia, not only those and those who don't want, they're not interested in job, but it's such a specialized thing that you can learn. He's willing to train people, students who are willing to do the job. If you're interested in how to install Atmos 7.1 projectors and everything and all that, he's willing to train, but no one wants to take it up. Anyway,
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, it's all doom and gloom.
Yeah, this was
Okay, this is a quick one. The question was how can we start? How do we start?
Yes.
Okay, for me personally, I think first thing first, we need to acknowledge. The industry needs to acknowledge this kind of problem. Okay, once we get acknowledged, we're going to find the problem. But I also see this as an opportunity for a group of experts to come up with a club or society, you come up, you gather, you sit down,
Right.
have this conference, and then find what is the issue, what's the problem, why students are not studying this project, and then you create standardization. Macam we have with accounting, kita ada ACCA, kita ada SIMA. With architecture, we have RIBA. These organization monitors the standards. So why don't bunch of experts, audio engineers experts, sit down, come up with the standards, and then put it into like a established standards, and then make it in a course. Jadikan dia one course, one program. I think that's an opportunity that I can see from this. This is maybe the opportunity for all of the engineers to come down and sit down. Let's have a congress, and discuss why this industry is dying. Why colleges are closing. What is the real problem? Acknowledge and then take action. So I think this is an opportunity for me, if you ask me.
I really appreciate.
I don't know anything about audio engineering, but speaking from a perspective of a classical musician, we can relate.
Yeah.
Because we also feel like, classical music, there's not much demand. In the industry there are some, but we also, some of us would also like a more pure classical training. So I would always think of it this way: why is there no demand? So at the same time that the industry doesn't want it, there's no demand. But at the same time, there are those of us who are so passionate about it, right? That is burning in us, right? So we need to find that bridge. That why is it burning in us? What inspired us about classical music? In your case, what inspired you from audio engineering? And then you need to present this enough. So what I told my student is, if you really are passionate about the classical music, you need to perform. And you need to put out good performances and quality performances. That's the way that maybe in one performance you can inspire one or two musicians. That's good enough. And those musicians are your assets in the future that you can gather together to start this club or whatever, right? So to present your side of the story to the industry who is currently cold is very important, I think.
I think we'll wrap it up. Okay, thank you very much for panels, and thank you for the audience for staying until this point. Give a clap to yourselves.